High Admiral Nexath of the Kryvax Dominion stood before the Great Council, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's bioluminescent lights. The three-dimensional projection of a blue-green planet rotated slowly above the council table, its single moon orbiting in perfect synchronization. Counselors, our long-range scouts have discovered another civilization in Sector 847. Nexath announced, his voice resonating through specialized harmonic chambers. They call themselves humans, and their homeworld Earth. The council members' anterior sensory stalks swayed with interest. First contact protocols had become routine for the Kryvax Dominion. They had encountered and absorbed dozens of species into their empire over the last millennium. Their technological level? Asked Chief Counselor Xerax, her crystalline forms shifting in subtle patterns that convey both curiosity and dismissal. Primitive by our standards, Nexath replied, manipulating the hologram to show human cities, vehicles, and military installations. They've achieved spaceflight, but only within their own solar system. Their weapons still rely on chemical propellants and crude nuclear fission. No quantum technology, no consciousness transfer capabilities, no gravitational manipulation. A ripple of amusement passed through the council chamber, manifesting as sparkles of light across their crystalline bodies. These humans were barely past their industrial age by Kryvax standards. They do possess some interesting qualities, Nexath continued, bringing up biological scans. They're remarkably adaptable, capable of surviving in a wide range of environments. Their neural systems show unusual plasticity, and they demonstrate considerable behavioral variation. Irrelevant, declared War Minister Kylax, her crystalline form pulsing with aggressive red undertones. Their military capabilities? Negligible compared to ours. Their most powerful weapons couldn't penetrate even our civilian vessel shields. Their armies still fight primarily on the ground, using projectile weapons and armored vehicles. Their aircraft are restricted to atmospheric operation, and their space vessels are. Nexath paused, searching for the right word. Quaint. The council chamber filled with harmonic laughter, the crystalline bodies of the assembled leaders shimming with mirth. Then the path is clear, Chief Counselor Xerax declared. Standard conquest protocols will suffice. We'll add their world to the Dominion and put their adaptability to proper use in our labor forces. But Science Minister Ilax raised a cautionary tendril. There is one curious aspect to their historical records. They show remarkable innovation during conflicts. Their technological advancement rate increases significantly when they're threatened. All species fight harder when cornered. War Minister Kylax dismissed the concern. But they have nothing that could threaten our forces. Our basic invasion fleet could subdue their entire planet within days. Nexath nodded in agreement, but something in the human historical records nagged at his consciousness. Their wars were chaotic, unpredictable. They didn't follow the logical progression of military doctrine that most species developed. Instead, they seemed to improvise. I recommend we proceed with caution, he suggested. Perhaps a small demonstration of our power first, to encourage peaceful submission. War Minister Kylax's crystalline form flashed with impatience. Unnecessary. We'll launch a full invasion immediately. Our forces will overwhelm their primitive defenses before they can even comprehend what's happening. By the time their leaders understand they're under attack, their major military installations will be neutralized. The council voted unanimously to approve the invasion plan. As Nexath left the chamber to prepare the fleet, he couldn't shake a lingering sense of unease. Something about these humans didn't fit the normal patterns. Their historical records showed too many examples of them achieving the impossible, of finding solutions that defied conventional logic. But surely their primitive technology would make any such tendencies irrelevant. After all, what harm could a species that hadn't even mastered quantum physics do to the mighty Kryvax Dominion? As the invasion fleet assembled in high orbit around the Kryvax homeworld, its crystalline ships glittering like stars, Nexath pushed aside his doubts. This would be a simple operation, barely worth recording in the annals of the Dominion's expansions. How wrong he was. The Kryvax invasion fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the solar system, their crystalline ships refracting starlight in dazzling patterns. As predicted, Earth's primitive detection systems didn't notice them until they passed Mars' orbit. By then, it was far too late for any meaningful response, or so the Kryvax thought. Fleet Commander Tylax watched with satisfaction as Earth's pitiful satellite network went dark, demolished by precision energy pulses. Primitive communication systems neutralized, she reported to High Admiral Nexath. Their military commands should be in chaos. But something wasn't right. The human military responses weren't following predicted patterns of confusion and disarray. Instead, they were displaying an unusually coordinated reaction, despite their lack of satellite communications. Impossible, Tylax muttered, her crystalline form flickering with confusion. How are they maintaining command and control? The answer came from a junior analyst, their crystalline form pulsing with excitement. They're using their planet's ionosphere, Commander. They're bouncing radio signals off the atmosphere itself. It's crude, but effective, and completely immune to our satellite disruption. Before Tylax could process this revelation, new alerts flooded her awareness. The humans were launching thousands of small objects into low orbit. Analysis shows them to be simple metal strips, her weapons officer reported dismissively. Primitive radar countermeasures. But these weren't just chaff clouds. The metal strips had been carefully calculated to create a makeshift orbital shield, redirecting and scattering the Kryvax's energy weapons. It wasn't perfect, but it bought Earth's defenders precious time. They turned their entire atmosphere into a weapon system, Nexath observed, his earlier unease returning. Proceed with the ground assault. Let's end this quickly. The first wave of crystalline dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their advanced shields easily handling the primitive missile attacks. But as they approached their targets, the humans unveiled another surprise. Energy spike detected, a sensor operator announced. They're directing massive electrical currents through their city's power grids. The humans had transformed their electrical infrastructure into enormous electromagnetic pulse generators. While the pulses couldn't penetrate the Kryvax's primary shields, they created devastating resonance patterns in the crystalline structures of their ships. Impossible. Tylax's form flickered with alarm as hairline fractures appeared across her command deck. Their technology is too primitive for such precise electromagnetic manipulation. They're not using advanced technology, Nexath realized, his crystalline form dimming with dawning comprehension. They're using basic physics in ways we never considered. Our own crystalline biology is being turned against us. But the humans weren't finished. As the dropships approached their landing zones, they encountered another surprise. The humans had flooded vast areas around their cities, creating massive mirrors that reflected and amplified sunlight. The focused beams of natural light caused thermal stress in the Kryvax ship's crystalline structures, already weakened by the electromagnetic attacks. This defies all military logic. War Minister Kylax's holographic form pulsed with frustrated confusion. They're using primitive physics principles as strategic weapons. How can they coordinate such unorthodox defenses? The answer became clear as the first ground forces landed. Human resistance wasn't coming from military bases or defensive positions. Instead, entire cities had been transformed into integrated defense systems. Civilian infrastructure had been repurposed into weapons and shields in ways that the Kryvax combat computers couldn't predict or counter. They're not fighting a war, Nexath realized, watching as another crystalline dropship succumbed to the humans' improvised defenses. They're solving a physics problem. Every human with basic scientific knowledge has become a weapons engineer. As the first day of the invasion ended, the mighty Kryvax fleet found itself in an unprecedented situation. Their advanced technology was being countered by principles so basic they had dismissed them as irrelevant centuries ago. The humans weren't fighting with superior weapons. They were turning the fundamental laws of physics themselves into weapons. And this, Nexeth realized with growing dread, was only the beginning. The humans were learning, adapting, improvising new defenses with every passing hour. They hadn't even unveiled their actual military capabilities yet. The simple conquest was becoming anything but simple. 3 days into the invasion, High Admiral Nexeth faced an uncomfortable truth. The Kryvax Dominion's advanced technology had become a liability. Their crystalline ships and weapons, products of millennia of quantum engineering, were being defeated by humans wielding the most basic principles of physics and chemistry. Another landing zone has been compromised. Fleet Commander Tylax reported, her crystalline form dulled with exhaustion. The humans have developed something new. They're calling it Project Thunderstorm. The tactical display showed the latest human innovation. They had seeded clouds with specialized particles and used their ground-based electrical infrastructure to create artificial lightning storms. The electromagnetic disturbances played havoc with Kryvax crystalline systems, while giving human forces natural cover for their operations. Their adaptation rate is unprecedented, Science Minister Ilax observed through the quantum link. They're not just using their existing technology, they're inventing new applications for it hourly. A new alert drew their attention. Human submarines, previously dismissed as primitive underwater vessels, had begun using low-frequency acoustic weapons. The sound waves, harmless to human structures, created devastating resonance patterns in Kryvax crystalline technology. They're targeting our fundamental biology, Nexeth realized. Everything that makes us advanced. Our crystalline structures, our quantum-sensitive systems, they're turning it all against us. But the true shock came when the humans unveiled their response to Kryvax ground forces. Rather than facing the invaders with conventional military units, they had mobilized their civilian scientific community. Universities have become impromptu weapons development centers, with professors and students working around the clock to develop new countermeasures. They've weaponized their entire education system, War Minister Kylax observed, her holographic form flickering with a mixture of horror and reluctant admiration. Every human with scientific knowledge has become a tactical asset. The results were devastating. Chemistry students developed compounds that could temporarily alter the crystalline structure of Kryvax armor. Physics departments created portable devices that generated localized magnetic field disruptions. Engineering schools produced swarms of simple but effective autonomous drones. They're primitive AI systems, a tactical analyst reported. They're not trying to match our quantum computing. Instead, they're using basic pattern recognition and swarm intelligence. Our advanced countermeasures are useless against such simple but effective approaches. Most concerning was the speed of human information sharing. Despite the Kryvax's destruction of their satellite network, humans had established a robust ground-based communication system. Every successful defense technique was quickly shared, analyzed, and improved upon by communities around the globe. They've turned their entire planet into a vast experimental laboratory. Science Minister Ilax noted, each encounter with our forces becomes a data point for their next innovation. The humans had even found ways to use their planet's natural systems against the invaders. They manipulated weather patterns, used geothermal energy in unexpected ways, and even turned their planet's magnetic field into a weapon against Kryvax navigation systems. This defies all military doctrine, War Minister Kylax declared, her crystalline form pulsing with frustrated confusion. They're not fighting according to any recognized strategy. They're experimenting. That's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Nexeth responded, watching as another squadron of crystalline ships retreated from Earth's atmosphere, their structures compromised by yet another human innovation. They're not bound by established military thinking. To them, this isn't just a war, it's a problem to be solved. As the third day of invasion ended, the Kryvax forces found themselves in an impossible situation. Their superior technology, the product of thousands of years of development, was being systematically neutralized by humans using principles taught in their basic science classes. And worse, the humans were learning. Each failed Kravax attack taught them more about their invaders' weaknesses. Each encounter sparked new ideas, new innovations, new ways to turn the fundamental laws of physics against their technologically superior enemy. The Kravax had expected to find primitive warriors. Instead, they had found 7 billion creative problem solvers, all working together to find innovative ways to defeat them. And they were succeeding. By the 5th day of the invasion, the Kravax Dominion's mighty fleet hung in Earth's orbit like a constellation of wounded stars, their crystalline ships bearing the scars of humanity's relentless innovation. High Admiral Nexeth could no longer deny the terrible truth. They were losing. "The humans have breached our quantum encryption," reported the communications officer, their crystalline form dulled with disbelief. "Not by matching our technology, but by using something they call quantum entanglement noise." Nexeth's form flickered with grim understanding. The humans hadn't tried to break the encryption. They'd simply made it unusable. Another example of their lateral thinking that had proved so devastating. "Status of ground forces," he demanded, already dreading the answer. Fleet Commander Tylax's response was interrupted by a new alert. Across Earth's surface, massive arrays of simple radio telescopes had begun broadcasting concentrated beams of electromagnetic radiation. The frequencies were precisely calibrated to interfere with the Kravax's crystalline neural networks. "They've mapped our entire biological system," Science Minister Ilax announced, her holographic form pulsing with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Every defeat, every encounter, they've been studying us, learning our weaknesses, and now they're turning their entire planet's communication infrastructure into a weapon against our very consciousness." Nexeth finished. The tactical displays told a story of systematic defeat. Human scientists had developed a spray-on polymer that could temporarily disrupt crystalline molecular structures. Their engineers had modified industrial lasers to target the specific resonance frequencies of Kravax technology. Even their primitive nuclear facilities had been repurposed to generate targeted electromagnetic pulses. "We've lost contact with Landing Zone 7, Tylax reported. "The humans there developed something new. They're calling it Project Echo." The tactical footage showed human forces using arrays of simple acoustic devices, everything from modified concert speakers to industrial ultrasound equipment, to create overlapping waves of sound. The frequencies, harmless to human structures, created devastating interference patterns in Kravax crystalline technology. "Their learning curve is exponential," War Minister Kylax observed, her holographic presence flickering with uncharacteristic uncertainty. "Each defeat doesn't demoralize them, it educates them." The humans had even found ways to turn the Kravax's quantum technology against itself. They couldn't match the advanced science, but they had discovered ways to disrupt it using surprisingly simple methods. Their primitive but effective solutions were proving impossible to counter. "New development at Grid Section 12, an analyst reported urgently. "The humans have modified their weather control systems. They're using them to create localized atmospheric conditions that interfere with our quantum field generators." Nexeth watched as another squadron of drop ships retreated from Earth's atmosphere, their crystalline structures compromised by the humans' latest innovations. The Kravax's technological superiority, maintained for thousands of years, was being systematically dismantled by a species that hadn't even achieved interstellar travel. "They're not just fighting us," Science Minister Ilax realized, her form pulsing with the enormity of the understanding. "They're reverse engineering us. Every piece of technology we deploy, every tactic we use, becomes a learning opportunity for them. They're advancing their understanding of quantum physics and crystalline engineering through practical application, by fighting us." The implications were staggering. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were using the invasion as an accelerated research and development program. Each day of combat advanced their scientific knowledge by years, if not decades. "All forces, full retreat," Nexeth ordered, his crystalline form dimming with the weight of defeat. "We're not fighting a war anymore. We're becoming an unwitting technology transfer program." As the battered Kravax fleet began its withdrawal, Earth's surface lit up with one final display of human ingenuity. They had reconfigured their global network of power plants to generate a massive coordinated electromagnetic pulse. The wave of energy, precisely tuned to the resonance frequencies of Krivax crystals, swept through space like an invisible tsunami. Across the fleet, crystalline structures began to fracture. Neural networks faltered. Quantum field generators failed. The mighty Krivax Dominion, with all its advanced technology, was being driven from Earth by humans wielding little more than cleverly applied basic physics. 1 month after the failed invasion, High Admiral Nexeth stood before the Great Council again. His once pristine crystalline form was webbed with stress fractures, permanent scars from the humans' innovative defenses. The council chamber, once filled with confident superiority, now hummed with uneasy tension. The final casualty report, Nexeth announced, his voice resonating with defeated harmony. 47% of our invasion fleet destroyed, 32% severely damaged, countless ground forces lost, and most critically, the humans now possess a fundamental understanding of our technology. The council chamber erupted in harmonic discord. The loss of ships and soldiers was devastating, but the technological implications were catastrophic. The humans had learned more about quantum physics and crystalline engineering in 1 week of combat than they might have discovered in decades of peaceful research. "Show them," Science Minister Ilax commanded, her holographic form pulsing with urgent intensity. The chamber's display filled with intercepted transmissions from Earth. Human scientists were already adapting Krivax principles to their own technology. Universities worldwide had begun research programs based on observations made during the invasion. Their primitive quantum experiments were crude but showed remarkable innovation. "They're calling it the crystalline revolution," Ilax explained. "They're not just copying our technology, they're reimagining it, finding applications we never considered. Their fresh perspective, unburdened by our millennia of established doctrine, is leading to unprecedented developments." The display showed human engineers developing hybrid technologies that combined their primitive methods with adapted Krivax principles. They had already created prototype communication systems that used crystalline structures to enhance their existing networks. Their understanding of quantum fields, while basic, was advancing at an alarming rate. Most concerning, War Minister Kylax added, her form flickering with uncharacteristic humility. "They're sharing everything. Every discovery, every innovation, is being freely distributed worldwide. Their entire species is participating in this technological revolution." Chief Counselor Zarax's crystalline form dimmed with the weight of realization. "We didn't just fail to conquer them. We accidentally gave them the keys to the quantum age." "Not accidentally," Nexeth corrected. "They took those keys. They earned them. Through innovation, adaptation, and a type of creative problem-solving we had forgotten was possible." The display shifted to show Earth's new planetary defense system. The humans had transformed their entire infrastructure into an integrated defense grid. Power plants doubled as quantum disruption generators. Weather control systems could create electromagnetic storms on demand. Their primitive satellite network had been rebuilt with crystalline enhancement nodes. "They're calling it the Earth Shield," Nexeth explained. "It combines their original innovations with reversed engineered Krivax technology. Any future invasion attempt would face both their ingenious use of basic physics and their growing mastery of quantum principles." "And they're not stopping there," Science Minister Ilax added. "Their rate of technological advancement has increased exponentially. They're using what they learned from our invasion to fuel innovations in energy production, transportation, medicine, every field of science." The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The Krivax Dominion hadn't just failed to conquer Earth, they had inadvertently catalyzed humanity's leap into advanced technology. And humans were proving to be frighteningly quick learners. "I moved to classify Earth as a protected world," Chief Counselor Zurax declared. "Not for their protection, but for ours. Let the galaxy know, Earth is not to be threatened." The vote was unanimous. As the council dispersed, Nexith remained, watching the holographic display of Earth rotating slowly above the table. The same image he had observed with such dismissive confidence just weeks ago. "We thought we were gods among primitives," he mused to the empty chamber. "But we forgot something fundamental about the universe. The most powerful force isn't technology, or quantum physics, or even crystalline engineering. It's the ability to think differently, to see new solutions, to turn weakness into strength." He added one final entry to the galactic database. Earth. Classification. Protected world. Threat level. Extreme. Notes. This species possesses an unprecedented capacity for innovation and adaptation. Their technological level is advancing rapidly due to observations made during the failed Kryvax invasion. Most critically, they demonstrate the ability to transform basic scientific principles into effective weapons and defenses. Warning: do not engage. Their apparent technological limitations are irrelevant. They will find ways to use your own advantages against you. They will learn from every encounter. They will adapt. They will innovate. They will survive. They are not primitive. They are not weak. They are humanity, and they have earned their place among the stars.